से मलनाडु टीवी, संवाद सरोकार न्यूज, Organ Donation India Foundation and Gyan, our endeavor is to bring to you and educate you, enlighten you about the current topics, about the impact of COVID-19. But today, we are taking up a very, very current, very hot, very controversial topic, and that is drug abuse, harsh reality. Before I will start, I would like to mention that today is the day of International Day of Older Persons. On December 14, 1990, the United Nations General Assembly voted to establish October 1st as the International Day of Older Persons. It was observed for the first time on October 1st, 1991. Data from the world population says that by 2050, 1 in 6 people in the world will be over age 65, up from 1 in 11 in 2019. For the first time in history, 2018 saw people aged 65 and above outnumber children under 5 globally. This day is celebrated by raising awareness about issues affecting the elderly. It is also a day to appreciate the contributions that older people make to society. The celebration of International Day of Older Person is done to create awareness and empathy regarding the well-being of the elderly. People usually celebrate the day by spending time with their grandparents, visiting old age homes and NGOs, and cooking or baking them. Some kids also give greetings cards to their elderly on this day. The theme of 2020's pandemics, do they change how we address age and aging? We greet all the elderly persons on this day. And today, very important day because we are also having the day that is called National Voluntary Blood Donation Day. Every year, India celebrates National Voluntary Blood Donation Day on the 1st of October to highlight the need and importance of safe blood in the life of an individual. 1st October is celebrated as the National Voluntary Blood Donation Day in India to recognize and commemorate the immense contribution made by Dr. Jai Gopal Jolly on his birthday. Dr. G.J. Jolly was the founder of the Blood Bank Society Chandigarh, founder president of the Indian Society of Blood Transfusion and Immunohematology, and made significant contributions to the development of blood program in India. The WHO estimates that blood donation by 1% of the population is generally the minimum to meet a nation's most basic need for blood. Even by this low measure, as per data presented to the Lok Sabha on March 23, 2018, shows India was short of 1.9 million units of blood, or 15% vis-a-vis the WHO norms. We appeal to you all, please donate blood to save the lives. Now, today's topic is drug abuse, harsh reality. It is not the drugs that make a drug addict. It is the need to escape reality. Addiction is a disease that makes you too selfish to see the havoc you create or care about the people whose lives you have shattered. A drug is any substance that causes a change in an organism for physiology or psychology when consumed. Drugs are typically distinguished from food and substance that provide nutritional support. Consumption of drugs can be via inhalation, injection, smoking, ingestion, absorption via patch on the skin, or dissolution under the tongue. Psychoactive drugs are chemical substances that affect the function of the central nervous system, altering perception, mood, or consciousness. These drugs are divided into different groups like stimulants, depressants, antidepressants, anxiolytics, antipsychotics, and hallucinogens. These psychoactive drugs have been proven useful in treating wide range of medical conditions, including mental disorders around the world. The most widely used drugs in the world include caffeine, nicotine, and alcohol, which are also considered recreational drugs since they are used for pleasure rather than medicinal purpose. Abuse of several psychoactive drugs can cause psychological or physical addiction. It is worth noting that all drugs can have potential side effects. Excessive use of stimulants can promote stimulant psychosis. Many recreational drugs are illicit, and international treaties such as the Single Convention on Narcotics Drugs exist for the purpose of their prohibition. Drug abuse is use of a drug in amounts or by methods which are harmful to the individual or others. It is form of substance related disorder. Differing definitions of drug abuse are used in public health, medical, and criminal justice contexts. In some cases, criminal or antisocial behavior occurs when the person is under the influence of a drug, and long-term personality changes in individuals may occur as well. In addition to possible physical, social, and psychological harm, use of some drugs may also lead to criminal penalties, although these vary widely depending on the local jurisdiction. The pattern of drug abuse in India has undergone changes over the years. Use of drugs like charas, ganja, opium, even bhang was a traditional in some places of India where they were mainly used for ritualistic purposes. However, the consumption of hard drugs like heroin and LSD is a relatively new phenomenon. Injection drug use has also been affecting people. According to a study by the Delhi Commission for Protection of Child Rights on the substance abuse by children, 100% of the children in conflict with the law were drug abusers, while 95.5% of them staying in child care institutions were on drugs, and 93% of street children consume narcotics. The study also states that 88% of the children consume drugs due to peer pressure. So today we would like to discuss this topic about the drug abuse harsh reality, and we have a very elite panel with us who are representing different sector of the society. They are expert, experienced, educated. I am sure that today's program will definitely enlighten all of us. I would like to invite my first guest. He is Dr. Rajiv Anand. Dr. Rajiv Anand is the senior psychiatrist and marriage counselor. Dr. Anand passed his MBBS in 1976 and did MD in psychiatry in 1980 from King's George Medical College, Lucknow. He opted to serve his country when it was very common to settle abroad for brighter future. He has been serving society with his base in Bombay, now Mumbai. He has clients all over India as well as in many other countries. He was honored with Lifetime Achievement Award by AMA. He has conducted more than 3,000 workshops for different groups and companies with audience size of 10 to 800. His television program on various channels have been widely appreciated for his forthright and practical approach. He is leading in the field of mental and emotional well-being for 40 years. He was president of IMA twice, and he was interviewed in several talk shows in domestically as well as internationally. Welcome, Dr. Rajiv Anand, on our show. Dr. Anand, today, drug abuse as the topic is so hot because everybody knows the cases which are going on in your Mumbai. And not only in Mumbai, in other parts of India also. And because their celebrities are involved, the media attention is very much there. But we would like to know the reality. What is drug and what is the abuse and what are the impacts of these drugs? And what are the solutions, how we can be away from this? So we would like to know from you the drug abuse, the harsh reality. Dr. Rajiv Anand, please.
Thank you, Mr. Lal, for kind introduction. Good morning, viewers from Kerala, Karnataka, Uttar Pradesh, and Bihar, and through global TV in other countries wherever they are. And thanks to all the television channels and global TV. And welcome to my colleagues, co-panelists here, Mayuri Roychoudhury, Dr. Ramghulam, and Mr. Rajan Surankar. In fact, I am very eager, looking forward to hear your views, because all of you are expert and you have very significant viewpoint on this matter. Because my take on drug abuse, I think we have rightly used the word drug abuse. Abuse, the A B is added to the use. So every drug does have possibility of being used judiciously, and every drug has potential of being abused if injudiciously used or harmfully used. All of us have heard that in our culture, in our civilization, people claim that Bhagwan Shiv or Lord Mahadev used to consume bhang. And so the tradition has been going on Shivratri and other occasions like Holi. There is as if there is a social license, social permission to consume cannabis or bhang. I'm not endorsing it. I'm not commenting on it. I'm just mentioning it that uses of certain things to relax or to recreate occasionally, and I am very clear about the words occasionally, as a way of celebration of the festival or the celebration of any other function, occasionally was a part of the society since ages. And perhaps many of us who have grown in different parts of the country have witnessed seeing it, and it was not looked down upon. And this had been further added by social media. Social media of all kind, electric media in various ways, have unknowingly to most people have made the life of most common people miserable, because it is their life, but they don't plan their life. Some others people do. It's their life. They don't design their life. They allow others to do that. It is their life. They don't steer. They don't guide their life where they want to go. The peer pressure make them turn left and make them turn right. So as if they are living in their house, but where they have to sit, where they have to lie, what food they have to eat is determined by everybody else in the world. So this lead to various kind of psychological distress, psychological problem for which they neither have an awareness nor they have a clear solution. So they get carried away by sundry experiences of their peer group. तो सिगरेट पी ले मजा आ जाएगा, तो सिगरेट में ये वाली चीज डाल ले मजा आ जाएगा, तो ये वाला चीज स्मेल करके देख, इसको लेकर देख, इससे रिलीफ होगा, so on and so forth. Now this peer group, what is spreading alarmingly at a very early age of teens. Even school people, school going people are also having this kind of thing. Young people who have not yet achieved adulthood are being lured for drugs. And I'm sure many of us have read news about various schools in their neighborhood, drugs have been caught being sold. Another disturbing trend, which I would like to talk about over here, the much more disturbingly, the girls have gone to take drugs. Many of the girls who have moved from their original city to the other city, from whether gone higher up or whether gone parallelly, they enjoy the freedom. So drugs have come to be associated with assertiveness of freedom, also by the boys and increasingly by the girls. For long, they have lived a life under inhibition, under social constraint, family constraint. And when they arrive in a big city, when the anonymity is there, when the freedom is there, when the girls' gang, they call it girls' gang, they go out, then they experiment with these things. The danger is, which they are not aware about it, as we are hearing these days, as we are reading these days, as we are watching programs these days, that takes away the inhibition, that takes away any kind of social taboo, that takes away any kind of restraint, external or internal. And then they do not know what next is going to happen to them or to their body. And that's where they fall prey to various other vested interests which misguide them or take them to the places where they want to. And we all know about what can happen, what does happen. So drugs have been in the recent decades have been excessively abused. Not that these drugs did not have therapeutic value. As all of us are aware about it, in extreme pain, opium or morphine was used. In extremely disturbing condition, many of the drugs which are judicially prescribed by the psychiatrists and various other physicians are misused by a large number of patients. Even Valium is misused, excessively used. Dajapam, active one, that another drug, lorazepam, is also excessively used. There are people who consume 30, 40 tablets a day because they say we won't get sleep. Similarly, the all people who have alcohol or what they call permit for the alcohol, the permit is originally issued that he is allowed this much quantity for the medical purpose, but this is misused. So we have let go of all control. We have let go of everything. That's why we are suffering. The scene of the drug abuse is very alarmingly deteriorating. It's a matter of concern. I would just like to pinpoint one more thing. Many of the youngsters, when they begin acquiring some income, acquiring some freedom, acquiring some achievement, then they develop ego, then they develop a sense of achievement, and then they have access to the easy earned money or fast earned money. Then they feel tempted to try this various kind of drugs, which otherwise, as a sensible person, they would not have. But since they have access to the money, they have access to the freedom, access to the bar or the permit room, and where all these things are easily available, even they are offered, that would you like to take something? So many of the youngsters, just to show that they can do this and they can do this in their life and they are not answerable to anyone, they are falling prey to it. Initially it may give rise to some kick, but they don't know that very soon they will be trapped into it, from which they would find it difficult to get out of it. I'm leaving a lot of academic aspect and technical aspect and statistical aspect and therapeutic aspect for my colleague, Professor Ramghulam, to speak on this. And I shall come back in the second round to contribute my views. Over to you, Mr. Lal.
And thank you very much, Dr. Rajiv Anand, for giving your views. And Dr. Rajiv Anand started his talk, and he says that because Bhagwan Shankar or Mahadev, he used to consume bhang. So there's a tradition to have bhang on Shivratri and on Holi. And according to him, although the bhang is a drug, he says that occasionally taking, he says, I am not endorsing, but occasionally taking something is not something which is not banned. Although I will like to discuss this point with Dr. Rajiv Anand, only I will mention right now this, that it is not banned, it is not only for the Holi and Shivratri. There are thekas, there are the shops sold by the government in almost all the cities, the main cities like Banaras, Mathura, and Lucknow, Allahabad, where all these bhangs are available 365 days. So the point which Dr. Rajiv Anand says, that occasionally to celebrate some religious function or to celebrate some occasion is fine, but it is not in that way, because government is selling it openly and people are buying it. That is one point that we can discuss once our advocate will come, what is the legal thing. Now, then he said that the problem is the young generation. The young generation today is very much confused, in conflicts, what to do, what not to do. And the fuel in the fire is because of the social media. And he says, because of that, they have been misled by the peers, by their friends. They says, why not you try this cigarette? Why not you try put something in this? Why not you smell this? Now, all these leads to addiction, and it's a abuse, which is very, very wrong thing according to Dr. Rajiv Anand. He says we were using these substances for the medical purposes, like opium or morphine was used for a severe pain, but not to be consumed every day. And he has mentioned that so much misuse people are doing, even like taking tablets of Valium or Compose or such type of thing. So many things which they are taking, they says we are not getting the sleep. And this is because they are confused and they are in a not in a proper mental state. And he also mentioned that the girls are becoming more prone to this because once they come from the other city to the big city, they could not carry out with the lifestyle of the city and they were lured by the people. And then he says that it can be very, very harmful, at least for them, because they don't know what is going to happen next. So according to Dr. Rajiv Anand, drugs are therapeutically, if it is used, it is very good, but misuse or abuse of the drug is very, very harmful for everyone, especially for the society. Thank you, Dr. Rajiv Anand, for giving your views. Now I would like to go to our next guest, and our next guest is Professor Dr. Ramghulam Razdan. Professor Dr. Ramghulam Razdan is the professor and head of Psychiatric Department, Mahatma Gandhi Memorial Medical College, Indore. Professor Razdan received WHO fellowship in the field of drug abuse in 1999. He is a recipient of prestigious Devang Mehta National Education Award for Best Professor in Psychiatric Studies in 2019. He is the founder president of IPS. He is the vice chairperson of IPS subcommittees of Mental Hospital and Foreign Affairs. He published in 32 international and national journals. Welcome, Professor Dr. Ramghulam Razdan on our show. Professor Razdan, you have heard what Dr. Rajiv Anand has mentioned. So I need not to repeat because you have already heard it. Now we would like to know from you the drug abuse, harsh reality. Professor Dr. Ramghulam Razdan, please. Please unmute yourself. Please unmute.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lal, for introducing the topic and telling about that cultural, religious aspects and other aspects on the problem of drug abuse in our country and abroad, and what really is it is this problem is harsh reality. Reason being, drug abuse is man-made. No one, picks up the drug and he starts taking himself, and the drugs don't come to the person. Second, this drug abuse is prevalent from the day of our civilization. Like that, you find sometimes that in our culture, Dr. Anand says, you said, sir, it is a use of, about the use of bhang. It is culturally accepted. But when it becomes a problem, that we have to understand. The third important thing is that why not a person take all the drugs, whatever it says, and becomes addicts? There is some quality of drugs. They produce euphoric effect. Why the mind want to be happy and cheerful. So sometime due to some or other reason that Dr. Anand has said that he wants to get rid of his some problems because so many factors start is evasion drug because of effect of drugs. Fourth thing is very important is about relationship between drugs and crimes. 90% of all crimes are committed after taking drug. Fourth, next important thing is that we have in our country, we have not to look after. That drug if trafficking is third most important business in the world. It is third after oil and arms deal. So this is very important, one of the uh, important issue. Then relationship between your terrorism and drug abuse. There are two important regions where from the trafficking is done. One is that golden crescent. It is boundary between Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Iran. From most of drugs are trafficked, and one second is the golden triangle, the boundary between Burma, Laos, and the nearby country. From these are the points where drugs are being sent, being trafficked, being people are being abused from these places. It is well known that so this is really that topic you have said, that is a horse reality. One side, person does drugs don't come to himself because of cultural factor, person start taking. Second thing, the drug effect of drug itself, and the pushing of the drugs in the to the person makes the person addicts. Now coming to the points, first going ahead, what are drugs being abused? I will focus more on the drugs abuse at present now. Most commonly drug abuse, as already you have said, sir, is alcohol and your tobacco throughout the world. And that's third is your sedative pills, opiates, stimulants, inhalants, tobacco, volatile substances. These are drugs abused in our country. Why the drugs are being abused? The first thing before that, it is that Dr. Anand said, because of peer pressure, because of the person unable to meet his stressor in young adulthood, poor uh, tolerance of the stress, and escape from reality. If person has some problem, he want to rid of. He goes to bar, they start drinking and pick up a bottle of alcohol, and he start become gradually and gradually he may become addict. And one more the religious reason that already it has been said by the why the cultural influence give rise drug abuse. Most important thing is that whatever factor is that drug person start taking, and after taking drug, any drug, this of this group, person develops tolerance, means for same euphoric effect person needs more and more drug. If today a person is taking 1 quarter, for same effect after 6 months he will require half bottle, then after he can require one bottle. So for this reducing effect tolerance, the person needs more and more this addicting substance, might be alcohol, might be any other drug, and gradually it becomes person become dependent on this. Once person become dependent on it, he is a disease, his brain is being affected. He is not he should not be considered a normal thing, and the person needs to be treated and to be taken care of. Then coming picking up drugs that at present that most commonly that uh, we are using, one is that benzodiazepines. As Dr. Anand says, because if we prescribe drugs in our psychiatric patient, it is boon for them. But what is happening now, because of sleeplessness, 4% now of our population is taking sleeping pills before the sleep at present in major cities. So this is big one. He goes to any medical store, he takes some sleeping pills. After taking for 20 days, 21st day, he becomes dependent on this. He whatever tries, he is unable to quit it up. Nowadays, the cardiologist after cardiac surgery they prescribe take alprazolam and lorazepam for sleep. But person keep on taking for 2 days. Well, forgets to say that it should not be taken after uh, 2 weeks. It should be gradually stopped. But person become dependent on a card like GRT problem. Person goes to gastrology, super specialized person. Here, the most common problem is related with psychological. They add it and person become dependent. Most important thing that 40% of crimes, if this group of benzodiazepine group of drugs are being used before committing crime. Here, there was one of the problem occurs at Indore in 1912, that not is a palm problem. Group of people, the criminal minded, they start taking this nitrate drug, the very nice drug, very effective drug that we prescribe for a psychiatric patient for sleep. But they started taking it, and they started doing criminal acts. They came on the road. They shooted about 8-10 people, and they injured 10-12 people. And ultimately, such had things, such episode keep on occurring. So ultimately, that person was, this group was picked up, and he was put behind the jail. So this is one of the important drugs that related with the crimes. And this benzodiazepine, one of the benzodiazepine is Rapnol. Usually, people use it for confusing and altering mind of their partner. This is known as rape drug. This for rape, very commonly used for this purpose, and this is banned in our country. So in Indore, you see alprazolam, diazepam, these group are banned because of this reason. But otherwise, through our country, they are available free of, I would on prescription of registered medical practitioner, because they are useful also. They are used by the doctors, and it is, I think, has to be used. Then coming to the alcohol. Alcohol is, sir, known as in our civilization that it was known as Somras. It's nearby to Indore is Ujjain. There is god called Bhairav. It is offered to that, and even I have gone also. I offered to that, culturally accepted. So this is alcohol is used throughout our civilization and as a somras, and it is considered one of the favorite drink of Lord Indra. And few things are very important that I would like to say. Taking safer amount of alcohol, that is safe drinking. Taking about uh, 80 milligram of absolute alcohol per day on in the supervision of doctors, it is safe. The dose should not be increased. Once person start taking more and more alcohol, he becomes tolerant. Already says tolerance develop more and more amount of alcohol required by the mind, and he becomes sick. He becomes dependent on it, and he becomes a person for the alcoholic abuse. Few more things that very our culture it is believed. Beer is good for and red wine is good. It is said that red wine is not bad. I will say that here I will like to say that both the difference is in the percentage of the alcohol. Their wine contains about 5-6%, and your red wine 5-6%, and beer about 6 to 7-8%. So this is difference between the percentage of. In India, usually people consume spirits, the vodka and your whiskey and rum. They contain more than our Indian culture made alcohol. They contains more than 40% of the alcohol. So this amount will quite high. So taking of beer or wine is as bad as the spirits that I already said uh, to person. Because of that, it should not be considered as a good. Or later on, after taking it for some time, a period while beer or whiskey, just miss, sir.
Yeah, I think some disturbance is coming from.
Sir, just 1 minute. You see, Indore is one of the
No,
cleanest
I
city.
understand, but
Well,
say,
just second, sir.
I understand, but because it's a live program, so we cannot have such type of disturbance.
Sir.
So,
Right, closer.
yeah,
Closer. So
yes,
sorry for that, sir.
no, no, it's okay. Yes,
Sir.
please continue.
Sir. So the red wine and beer, they are not good for the health. It should not be taken as a good when you are tired, whenever you want. It should not be taken at all. Then coming to opiates. Opiates are products of coffee plants. It is used in our country since long period of time, from even Mughal period. Its cultivation started from that period, and it is cultivated in our country, and it is produced, and it is morphine is used for the treatment. That is very effective, still very effective treatment for as a painkiller. But few of the products, that is the that is brown sugar, are the this is one of the is product diastyle morphine. People are smoking, and it is one of the very important. We also call this smack as a heroin and brown sugar by 2-3 names. So if we smack brown sugar, and these are very addicting substance. Chemically, they are diacetyl morphine. Same group of drugs they have. Once what happened? Around about in our country, there are about 5 lakh people addicted with brown sugar or smack or heroin of the heroin. It is used mostly in the form of the injection. What happens? Most of the addicts, they are made addicts by the others. People come to the person, motivate, and start providing drugs free of cost to the person initially. This smack. This is used as injectable form most of the cases, and the smoked also. So first, free of cost, after taking for 5 6 days, they become dependent on that. So addicting substance is that puts the person on the fifth day become dependent on it, and person is so much addicted that whenever he tries to quit it, he develops severe withdrawal symptom like pain abdomen, vomiting. He can't do anything, and he starts searching this smack again. He try to find out who is drug pusher, and he again start taking drugs. I mean, this is quite costly. So to meet out the cost, most of these smack addicts, either in the injectable form or the smoking form, they become drug pusher themselves. So to buy the our this cost effect because of effect of drugs, this makes a person large number of person at drug trafficker. Whole country is facing this problem of drug this abuse of the smack because it gives rise large number of complications like HIV infection, hepatitis infection. Most important thing that usually it is start the addicting person are the from the lower middle class. So it affects so much badly their family, their work, that their life start revolving against that smack, and he become crippled and searching these drugs. There are so many drug addiction centers there. There for treatment, these persons very well could be treated, and the problem could be solved. There are certain de-addiction center, or it could be treated by any of the psychiatric practitioner from OPD basis. It needs certain detoxification and subsequent follow-up certain period of time. So this life can be good even at the addicted person with the smack also. Uh, then coming to the party drugs. Now there's a lot of discussion is there. Party drugs. Party drugs are prevalent in the metropolitan cities. They are in the various a lot of parties organized by the clubs or the persons. They organize the party for certain group of person. Most of commonly used drugs are ecstasy, rohypnol, ketamine, GHB, and mushrooms, psilocybin, LSD, and silver dinosaur. These are the name of drugs being used. They are mood elevator. Their chemical effect is such that they are once person goes in the party, he start taking it, he feels more closer to other person. He enjoys more songs, music. He enjoys more the your relationship with the person there, and they feel tiredness. They feel that the time has stopped. Whatever even due to this reason, people whole night keep on taking these drugs and dancing, partying, and meeting the people. But very bad thing is that about these party drugs, they are very toxic. They give rise cardiac problem, and death is very common because of excessive use of drugs, because of this complication of these drugs. Second is that death also occurs because they get exhausted, and they become so much dehydrated because of this reason. They can die because with the complication of the drugs or because of exhaustion, not taking care of their own problem, own that hydration and like that. So these drugs, what that I was enumerated 90% person sometime other taking drugs. about alcohol in our country, latest survey says that 24% person to take alcohol. Opiates around about 7%, and third is that marijuana, the cannabis, and that take about 5-6%. Stimulants that are enumerated, party drugs, somewhere in that in metropolitan cities 0.5% are using this. Volatile substances, one of the more important group of drugs, that in these substances there are various volatile substances like glues, thinner, and like sprays. These are taken by the person. Petroleum, usually they are taken by the that people living, children living in the slums. They go somewhere and they try to pick up these thinner glues and these various this group of drugs. Some, and they start taking it because it is cheap. Easily they can get it. But and petroleum addiction is very common also. The people working on the petrol pump, they are taking this alcohol, this petroleum also. These group of drugs are very toxic. They give rise liver failure, cardiac complication, and their morbidity is very high. Age gets shortened. They can die because of the complications of these drugs. About cannabis, one more thing that I would like to say. One side, it is said that culturally we are accepting it, taking some time other accepted, but once person become dependent on that, and sometimes taking longer period of time, then he may get complication. Like he may develop uh, the loss of interest in the work. That is known as a motivational syndrome. They become,
Okay.
people become less active and less interested in work, and sometimes about very minor number of person they become sometime mansik vichipta, that psychosis that they may have. One
Okay.
important thing that it has beautiful thing that it gives rise visual imageries. Whatever they want to see, they can see it. So this is one of the area that.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Razdan, for giving the details. And Dr. Razdan explained that what types of drugs are available in India. He started from all the things, starting from the herbs, like he has mentioned about the bhang and the charas and all those things which were used earlier. And even the he has mentioned about the somras that has now become the alcohol. And he said that how it was misused. Then the smacks and other drugs which are commonly available in the medical stores in India, even without the prescription, although doctor said that is available on prescription. But the hard reality is that you can get any of these things, go to any chemist shop, because in India we don't have that type of pharmacy system which is there in Western countries or in USA, where the medicines will be given only on the prescription, which is sent directly to the pharmacist. Not even if you are carrying, they have to put everything on record. But in India, it is available. And he has given that how these drugs are very harmful. So, and even he has mentioned about the party drugs, which are very prevailing nowadays. And he says they are very, very harmful for physically as well as mentally for a person. Thank you, Dr. Razdan, for giving your prospects about this condition of the drug abuse. Now, I would like to go to our next guest. Before that, I would like to request him, if he's using mobile, please to put it like this, as in a horizontal condition. Yes, yes, please. Now, he is Advocate Rajendra Surankar. He is an alumni of Government Law College. He is having experience of 25 years practicing in Bombay High Court. He also appeared in almost all high courts all over India. He is also appearing regularly in Supreme Court of India. Initially, he was practicing in civil, commercial, and constitutional laws. Now he is specialized exclusively in writs and criminal commercial matters. Welcome, Advocate Rajan, on our show. Although you came late, so you are not knowing what Dr. Anand and part of what Dr. Rajdan has said, but they said that there are these drugs which we term as a drug. This is a cultural from our Indian society, because Lord Mahadev or Shankar Bhagwan used to have bhang. So that thing has come to the society. And according to Dr. Anand, if it is occasionally used, then it is no harm. But once you use it daily or in a regular way, then it's a very harmful. What Dr. Razdan has given all the details of all types of drugs available in India. He has given the names which I do not want to repeat, because I do not want to. We want to educate the people, but not the names of the drugs, so that they will go tomorrow and ask the chemist to give those things. So now Dr. Razdan has given that how harmful are these things. But we want to know, because you are a leading advocate, what is the status legally? Because one side we says that it is in our culture to have the bhang or chilam, which many people are taking. You can go to any of the religious places in India. So then why there is a hue and cry about having in parties with the youngsters? So we would like to know the legal status of the drug abuse and the harsh reality by Advocate Rajen Surkar, please.
I'm, I tender my apology for joining late because of technical glitch, and I'm glad to be part of this chat on drug abuse, which is very rampant nowadays, seen in youngsters and the high strata of society, as well as now it's coming in the lower strata of society. Uh, I will try to summarize my things since I joined very late, and I'm thankful to you, all of you, to patiently wait for my joining, and I'm extremely grateful to organizer for having me here. As far as the impact of the drug abuse in our country is concerned, that depends, that is going on since ages, time immemorial, and that has got its traditional practice. And those traditional practices are coming from various traditional customary practices. We have its impact. Now we will only talk of ill effect of it. Those have got its effect on our social, ethical, and moral values. It has got its impact on our society, our family, our workplace, and educational areas. These drugs which are referred are purified form or the its chemical forms which are prevalent in urban cities. However, these drugs are being used in villages in the raw form, that is called opium or bhang or ganja, and those are used in olden days as a medicinal part of it. In Ayurveda, these drugs were used for the medicinal purpose. However, this has been abused by certain people in the global scenario for profits, and they started putting a chemical form of it in a day-to-day life of the youngsters, uh, older people, those who are getting addicted to it. And this has got its very serious effect on one's mental and physical health, kind of a overdose. If we refer for the ill effect of the drug abuse on one's health, a certain quantity which are allowed, and over and above that, if it is taken, people ignorantly do use or consume drugs, then it definitely causes sometime death. And we have been reading in the newspaper a number of instances where people have died, including in US and our country, due to overdose of it. As far as the legal part of it is concerned, it has been permitted under Drug and Cosmetic Act for use for the medicinal purpose, and those are used for relaxant or the painkiller or in the form of other cancer treatment or advanced severe treatment. However, it has been formulated in a molecule form. As far as commercial use is concerned, that is totally banned in our country. However, marijuana has been allowed to be sold in a certain part of US and other countries. But marijuana and other uh, intoxicant, we call it intoxicant or addictive drugs, which are banned in our country, are punishable under the NDPS Act. As far as use of the drugs in our uh, society is concerned, those are there in villages in the form of bhang, ganja, or weeds. It carries a different name in different part of the country. However, this particular kind of raw, we call it raw drugs, those are being used traditionally. Though there is a ban on quantity of it, however, people do use in a small quantity as source of relaxant. Some startup society do not have access to alcohol, liquor, or what we call spirit of high standard. And those people traditionally have been using bhang for their relaxation purpose. There is no finding as of today what effect it causes on one's mental and physical health if it is used beyond a particular quantity in a person's day-to-day behavior. However, scientific data does reveal that there has been severe damages to one's mental health and physical health as well, depending on the person's own physical strength and physical whatever health concern is there. However, I would suggest that use of the narcotics, we call it narcotics under the legal phrases, are totally banned in our country. There are provisions made for commercial use and non-commercial use for the purpose of penalizing a person, that is for the purpose of granting bail or for punishing person in non-bailable offenses. Here there are more kind of abuse are happening in our country by the pushers. There are people who are pushing the drugs in a social life, in the college life, in the school life, as well as in a slums, as well as in high end of the society. Those people are doing it for profit or illegal profit, and those kind of thing needs to be taken care by not only government but every individual who are going to be directly or indirectly affected, and those are the menace in a society we are likely to face in a coming future. Like we are seeing 10% of your population is being affected with the drugs abuse.
Okay. Yes.
I try
Thank.
to summarize all this
Okay.
thing from traditional to legal.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Advocate Rajendra, for giving your summary about the drugs. And he says that in India, the traditional drugs are there which are commonly used, like bhang and charas and ganja, etc. But he says that those are only to be used in a limited quantity. But for your information, Advocate Rajendra, in UP, I can tell you, in many of the cities, there are the shops, government shops, authorized government shops, auctioned by the government, like the liquor shops auctioned by the government, where anyone can go and buy the all these drugs openly. No prescription is required from any of the doctor. Nothing. You can go, and there are even the sweet shops are selling openly the sweet thandai, bhang ki thandai, or all those things. So we cannot say that it is not banned in India. And when you are when Dr. Advocate Rajendra has also mentioned that in India there are many drugs which are totally banned, although few of them are allowed in USA. Yes, USA allows, many of the states in USA allowed certain drugs to be consumed when the person is above 21, for recreational purpose, for medicinal purpose above 18. So this is allowed there, but not in India at all. Although the drugs are drugs, as Dr. Razdan has already mentioned about the harms which even these bhangs or charas or ganja are doing physically as well as mentally. So, but what Advocate Rajan says, that this is a menace because all these drug pushers are trying to giving to the school children, to the high end of the society, and to the slums, etc., which not only the government, but as a civil society, we must stop it. Otherwise, it will create a problem in future. Thank you, Advocate Rajan Sonkar, for giving your views about
Thank you.
drug abuse. Now I would like to go to our next guest, and she is Miss Mayuri Roychoudhury. Miss Roy Choudhury is a script writer, creative director, creative producer of TV shows, digital shows, and films. She is working with ALT Balaji, Star, and others. Welcome, Miss Mayuri, on our show. Miss Mayuri, you have already heard what Dr. Rajiv Anand, Dr. Razdan, and Advocate Rajan has mentioned. And they all have one view that in India, the traditionally those drugs like bhang, charas, ganja, afim are there, which we use because the Lords, our gods, used to have all these things. So there is no harm in using occasionally. Although I disagree with, because if we take this in that spirit, then Lord Krishna was termed that he used to steal the things. So occasionally stealing is legalized. I don't think, but anyways, that was their view. And but they says that these are very, very harmful. These are drugs. We should not take them as a very lightly. And they have also mentioned that how now the parties drugs are available, which Dr. Rajdhan had explained, and by which the persons who's consuming it has become very high, and he forgets where is he, and he enjoy the high music, and he is try to play. So all these things are there now. Recently this Bollywood is in limelight. All the media reports, all the media are for last almost 2.5 or 3 months are only showing about Bollywood. So do you think you have to give the your views about the drug abuse, the harsh reality, but before you have to also present that only the Bollywood, they are only consuming the drugs, no one else is consuming, because you are associated with the film industry, the TV industry, and or they are, we should say that now this whosoever is working in this industry, including you, are all drug addicts, and we must see them not as a role model but as a villain. What are your views on the drug abuse harsh reality? Miss Mayuri Roy Chaudhary, please.
Thank you for having me. This has been a very interesting discussion. I was not expecting it to go this way, and I really want to start with the basic image that we have. There was a time when we would look at consumption of alcohol or any kind of drugs, look at a person, and we would say, "Oh, he's so sad. He's going through some tough times." And even with Shiva, everybody says Lord Shiva consumed, smoked, but when did he really do it? That is the question that I raise. That he really did it when we heard about when he has lost his wife, he goes through a great tandav, and it is after that point that he indulges in some act like this to probably soothe himself. They have been known to be antidepressants, and that's where I say the doctors and are right with the occasional consumption. What is this occasional consumption is, I think, more medically bent. And when did we start looking at it differently? So when I think about that, I think about social media. I think about how it has the image of consuming alcohol or drugs suddenly got this fancy makeover and became a fashion statement. And they said, hey, it's cool. But you can't be sad and boring on the internet, on social media. You cannot be sad. It's going to look like it's boring. Nobody wants to hear that. And that is where the problem lies for me. It is consumerism that has brought this change where we tagged it as a celebration, as a part of celebration, whereas it depicts a problematic person. As Dr. Rajiv said, that it is through teens, through different and difficult lives that people have, that we are not even growing up to be proper adults. We do not know what is right and
I,
wrong. And think about a
yeah,
industry, a city where people come from various stratas of the society. They come from with different kinds of baggage. Everybody does not come there to make money and fame. A lot of people also come to survive. So, where does this really lead us to? And the opinion stuck to it that it's a fashion statement to just fit in, to just survive in the industry. People participated, thinking, no, no, I will never get into something like this. And they get addicted to it. Then there are a lot of intellectual and talks about how it enhances your creativity and how you will have this journey to something great. And that's where the experimentation comes in. Also, with this statement of fitting in and experimentation, it's a lost scenario. So for me, I look at two things. That is, if it's a drug abuse, there is the drug that you're getting, and there is a person who's getting abused. It is a fact that it is lack of guidance that leads someone to do this. It's plain lack of guidance, being away from family, not able to connect with your family and friends, and talk about how you feel, talk about how bad your day was. Your worlds are different, there are no connections, and it is a it is a sense of isolation that a lot of people, being in a big group of people, being on sets, yet feel very lonely. The term that crops up in my head is immense amount of loneliness, but a whole lot of other things. It can be drugs, it can be alcohol, it can also be materialism, buying a new thing every day. That's also a kind of addiction. It could be chasing blindly a position at power. That is also an addiction. All this is a void which needs a lot of guidance, which probably needs a lot of therapy, and all of this falls into the boring, and you're sad, and it's become a social media taboo to be depressed. We have people confessing that yes, I was depressed. It should be more acceptable, is what I feel. A balanced life should be what people should think about in terms of work, in terms of success, in terms of happiness. And the second part, if not the abused, if not the person, then the drug. And as all of you spoke about, and especially Sir recently spoke about how this consumerism are taking advantage of the availability of drugs. So I want to focus on that it is very hazy laws, that we don't know what are the laws. We do not have a streamlined way, where there are countries where it is legal, and uh, what is wrong and right for our country would be different, but we should probably have very well etched out do's and don'ts, because it is a part of the society. It is being consumed, so we can probably only streamline it and ensure that it is not going into the wrong hands, and it is not uh, being abused. So that is what I really think, that it's these two elements that are going back and forth, and it has become a vicious circle of realizing that it is a part of our society, and uh, it's everyone's responsibility at the end of the day.
Okay, thank you, Miss Mayuri. And she has emphasized that because of the commercialization or the consumerism, and to show, and because nobody wants to show their face as they said on the social media, she says everybody wants to be cool, and this has become a fashion thing, and that's why this consumption of drugs has increased, especially in the high end of the society. And she says that although it is not good, but because you have to be in the society, and the youth is misguided, youth have no guidance, there is no proper family guidance about to how not to, why not to use the drugs. That is why the drugs menace or the drug abuse is there. Thank you, Miss Mayuri, for your comments on this, although I still want that answer, which I will be coming to you again. Now I would like to ask Dr. Rajiv Anand, can you throw some light what kind of psychologies people do have when they go for drug use? And One more thing, Dr. Rajiv Anand, I would like to mention about the bhang, because you have raised thing about bhang. The fruit is not allowed. It is illegal. But the leaves are illegal. And that leaves are, once you make a paste, that become bhang. And bhang is legalized in India, although it's not allowed anywhere in the world. Other worlds, they termed it as a drug. So this also you have to just explain that whether this bhang is also harmful on the psychology of the people or not. Dr. Rajiv Anand, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Lal. First, let me clarify what I have said in my earlier talk of first 10 minutes, that I have not endorsed the occasional use of any substance or any drug. I've shared my observations since time immemorial. Various kind of things have been used on occasions, on celebrations, on festivals. And I've said in the same breath, I'm not endorsing or I'm not recommending it because it's a very, very slippery ground. Now, having said so about, there has to be judicious use of anything and everything, including a cup of tea or even a glass of water. I can't have 50 glasses of water. I can't have 20, 30 cups of tea in a day, however innocuous, harmless it may sound. Now, as regards the bhang, the fruit of it is banned and the leaves are powder. Now, this is for a government to take decision. Some people advocate this. The individual do have a right on their body or their own individuality or their own choices how they want to consume. That's one part. That's one view. The point is, if our behavior is likely to be a threat or likely to be a nuisance to people around us in the society, which it is becoming, then we need to look into. We are not living on an island and we are not living alone and we are not living totally independent of other people. We are living with people, even in our close family. I can't think of having a 4 packs of whiskey in my home and can create a nuisance. No, I am answerable to them. I'm equally answerable to my next door neighbor or the society or the building and so on and so forth. So anything what we do, we have to be accountable to society at large, family to whom we belong to, and our own long-term health. Third point, I would like to answer to your specific question that why, what's this psychological state which is driving people to these kind of things? There are more and more identity disorders. Even though identity disorder is a separate classification in the world of psychiatry or in the science of psychiatry, but I'm using it in a non-technical way over here. Many of us do not know clearly what am I, what is my worth, what is my talent, where I'm headed to, how to bring the best out of me. So I have a need to belong to a group. I have a compulsive need to be validated by a group. I want to belong to Rotary Club or to Lions Club, nothing bad about it as long as they are doing social service. But I have a need to belong to some club, official, unofficial, where a group of people, they have a blast, they have a joy, they have a fun. And most often people in the early part of life do not know that could there be any other way of having fun except consuming something. So I get drawn into it, I get swallowed into it, and I don't know from where I'm going to land. And that's where many young people who do not have clarity about their own talent, their own qualities, their own future, their own present, they get driven into it. This is a word of caution for me as a psychiatrist, as a counselor, equally so from my colleague, Dr. Ramghulam, that every one of us need to pause, stop, and look where I'm heading to. Drugs may be a small station, but you could ruin and you could finish at that one station as we are witnessing the scene day in, day out. Over to you, Mr. Lal.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Anand. Uh, Now, I would like to ask Dr. Razdan. Dr. Razdan, you are seeing so many patients every day and you are in this line. Would like to know one thing very clearly, whether this addiction is a historical, means from the very a long time we are having this drug abuse or the addiction. What type of drugs were available at that time? Now the drugs are, more and more drugs are available and with the different names, but earlier also the drugs were available, like you have already mentioned, the somras, Now it's alcohol, but earlier it was somras or the bhang, ganja, everything was available. Or this is a recent, it has come now in our country, the addiction, or it was a old one. What is your view about this? Please unmute yourself.
Actually, since known history, this is nature of human being. He want to be happy and cheerful. So there is some art. They always sought to means of becoming cheerful. So there have been drugs available since known history, as I already said, sir, that about somras, it was available. Since after that, you will see other part of words like in the African countries, there or they were using cocoa leaves and Mahan, it is I think not it is not cultivated in our villages. I have seen in Madhya Pradesh, I have seen in UP, they are grown themselves. So people are picking up, they are using it. So they have been using from long period of time. Since civilization has grown up more and more, the opiates were cultivated. They came from China, spread to other part of country. And I will say there is fashion of change of drug abuse. So the drugs are changing, have been changing, are changing with the time. In the past, people were using cannabis, there people were using cocoa, people were using opiates, and now the time at present they are using now newer drugs, fashionable drugs, the artificial drugs, even they call it that ATS drugs. They are even more advanced, newer compounds comes. Sometimes there are so many new compounds they bring that it very difficult to catch hold by your law enforcers. I have discussed with this problem how I don't pick up these what are compounds going on. Sometimes it's very difficult. So this is fashion. So it is with our culture. It was, it is, and I think with the time it will keep on changing also.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Razdan. Now I would like to ask Advocate Rajan. See, it's our culture, it's our tradition. Although both of them is not in favor that we should even have occasionally, but those who are consuming it, after all, government is allowing to have the bhang. There are so many cigarettes are available everywhere, which government is not. Its production is there already. Only the label on the label on that the packet there is written that it's harmful for the smoking is harmful for the life, and alcohol is also. It's a very important thing because everybody, both our panelists have mentioned about the alcohol. Alcohol is the lifeline for this country. We all know this COVID time when this alcohol was banned everywhere, those shops were closed, how much havoc it has been, and when it was released, how much havoc it was. So we cannot say that drugs are not in part parcel of our society. But all those people who are consuming, whether it's alcohol, whether it's drugs, whether the new names of the drugs, LSD or whatsoever the drugs names have been given, or the older drugs like bhang, afim, charas, ganja, do you think that these all those who are consuming are criminals and they should be dealt as a criminal? And there is as you have mentioned about the narcotics and this thing that it comes under the narcotic definition, and they all are criminals and they will be treated and prosecuted as a criminal. Advocate Rajan, please. Please unmute.
Yeah, Dr. Lal, as far as use, there are two phenomena. One is use. Use is for the good purpose. That is called the health related industries, say Ayurveda or pharma industry. They use it for various purposes which are allowed under scientific method for betterment of human health. And those are permitted under various laws to be used under restrictions. Even under the medicinal purpose, it can't be used rampantly or beyond a particular limit. Those are called every drug, every drug. I must say, even the allopathy drug, what we are using in today's modern world, has its own side effect, has its own harmful effect, including the drugs what we are cutting in the form of narcotics. This narcotic substance are mostly abused for illegal profits by various strata or kind of section who are believing in making illegal profit. There is no price restriction as well as the warning concerning to health of one, whether it's a physical or mental or otherwise, are unrestricted, and these are sold in illegal market. Contrary to that, drugs which are sold under the restriction category are always given under the doctor's prescription, and those are allowed by government for betterment of one's health, and those are very much needed. That is the reason we say that drugs are also used in ayurveda as well as in pharma industry as a form of painkiller or in some severe ailment treatment. Now question comes whether we should allow use of ganja or other form of the drugs. Now let me clarify that the ganja or drugs are not allowed in entire country, and even I don't think that even a certain part of country allow it to be used beyond a particular promotion. There must be some cap, and those are sold in very raw form. What is being sold in today's illegal market and pushed in schools or college or elite society or even in slum are for illegal profit for uncontrolled reasons of illegal means of making money. Now we cannot equate alcohol with the drugs. These drugs are highly intoxicant. It damages one's nervous system, say cannabis or heroin or brown sugar, or there are new form of the drugs which have been coming or pushed in the market. Those not only disorient the person, these are initially being used as a stimulants or motivational, or person feel getting into high risk mode mentality. Over the period of time, people started using beyond a permissible limit. Say one is allowed to use a 2 ml or 3 ml, and with the addiction, they go on increasing their doses. And with the increase of doses, their physical and mental health gets affected in such a manner which goes beyond repair. And that is the reason you would find the government has established or allowed some NGOs to establish the rehabilitation center, and there also the addicts take months and years to get back to normalcy of their life pattern, and sometimes many they do not come out of drug habit. That is the reason I would not advocate for use of drugs in a daily life in a form of relaxance or stimulator or for enjoyment or whatever may be the reasons. The crude form which has been prevalent in our traditional society, as you said rightly, is there in government has allowed some license in UP or some part of country. Those are a form of a kind of a practice traditionally adopted by particular societies, and if those are being not allowed, people will definitely not come out of addiction. So it is a compulsion rather than need for a government to allow those things to happen. But definitely there is some cap or restriction is needed there also. In modern society, like we live in an urban society, there we cannot allow drugs, and there is likely chance of more of abuse than its use for good purposes. However, medical fraternity or pharmaceutical companies, they have been allowed.
Okay, Advocate Rajendra, my question remains unanswered. My question is, a crime is a crime, whether it's used for traditional use or for the modern. A drug is a drug, whether it's a traditional drug or the new form of drug. A criminal is a criminal, whether he has done a crime of 1 rupee or thousands of crores of rupees. My point is again the same, is whether anyone who is using the drug which is not allowed is to be treated as a criminal or not, which we are seeing nowadays in media. Very shortly, because we have no time, I have to ask Ms. Mayuri also.
I get your point, and I would say that drugs are drug use are never branded as a criminal activity.
Okay.
Use is always a requirement of a person. Like alcohol is banned in Gujarat, and there's a branding of criminal for supply and selling. But a person who are drinking there, they are penalized in the form of fine. Unlike Maharashtra,
Advocate Rajendra, although there was a case in Gujarat, you can vouch for it, where the top pupil of Gujarat were arrested. They were there in the police station the whole night, and because they were consuming, they were not selling, they were not pushing, they were very, very rich pupil in Gujarat. Anyways, I'm sure that
will
we will
not.
have a discussion on
Yeah,
that sometime again.
yeah.
I would like to go to Miss Mayuri in a very, very brief. Why people raise fingers at film industry? Again, I am coming because you are related to the film industry. I am sure that there are good people also like you, and many people who are working. There is a actor I will not name who wakes up early morning at 4 o'clock and he wants everybody to be there. I am sure a person who is taking drug cannot wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and do the work every day and then have a routine. So what is the why people are raising only to the film industry?
Uh, what I would say it is, if it's people, then who are the people today? And if there are somebody pointing fingers, then media itself has a very big part to play, and journalism, today's journalism has a
Hmm?
massive part to play. What is breaking news today has completely lost its value. It is personal affairs have become breaking news, and this is COVID, and everyone's life is at home.
Okay,
Everyone
okay.
is.
I got your answer that you are blaming the media, but I'm sure you will not blame our media because we are not pointing any fingers.
Yes,
I am saying very clearly a drug addict, whosoever he is, whether he's a film personality, politician, bureaucrat, a civil society, businessman, or media person, they all are in the same way. You cannot term in a different way. Secondly, the traditional drug or a new drug is a drug and the government must revisit it. I have no time, so I could not give more. Okay, I will give 30 seconds to each of you. Dr. Rajiv Anand, we starting. Any one suggestion you want to give to the government or advice to public? Anything, one. No, you are muted yourself, doctor. Only 30 seconds only. I have no time.
Okay, take care of your emotional health. You don't need any external support.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Razdan, any suggestion you want to give? Unmute yourself, please.
Sir, this immediate need of that some control by the government level for availability of the drugs, the illicit drugs, illegal कानूनी तौर पर legally
Okay.
this should not be available. Last enforcement should be very strong.
Okay.
Why I'm telling you, in this lockout round period also, the supply of brown this spike was continued. There
Okay,
were no
okay.
others, so like that it should
We
be
got your
stopped, sir.
point. Definitely. Advocate Rajendra, any suggestion? One suggestion. Very less time now.
No, drugs should not be used in the form of the relaxant. It should be used in the medicine, and government should allow that.
Okay, thank you. And what about you, Miss Mayuri? Any suggestion or any advice?
I would say one should introspect and keep a check on themselves, however
Okay.
they can.
Okay, thank you very much. So today you have seen that drug use is not a good thing for the society, neither for you, nor for me, nor for anyone. So please be away from drugs and keep a watch on your children, whether they are using or not, and try to keep them engaged so that they will, because as our panelist has said, if the family values are there and we will keep them engaged, they will not go towards that, and the government has to take further strict actions. Today's program, which has been live telecasted by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV, News Gaon Se, Samvad Saroka News, as well as it was shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And our endeavor is to bring and celebrate the days which are memorable for the country. And tomorrow is that memorable day. That is the 2nd October. So we are celebrating 2nd October celebration, which is a Gandhi Jayanti as well as Lal Bahadur Shastri Jayanti. And we are going to celebrate with the children, the students or the youth from the different parts of India. Almost 25 to 30 students are joining from the different parts of India tomorrow for our function. And the chief guest of tomorrow will be Mr. Narottam Mishra, IRS. He is the Director General of Income Tax Investigation, UP and Uttarakhand, Lucknow. So please do join tomorrow at 10:30 for this grand program of Gyan 2nd October celebration. Thank you, Dr. Rajiv Anand. Thank you, Dr. Razdan. Thank you, Advocate Rajendra. And thank you, Ms. Mayuri, for joining and giving your views on this a very, very hot topic. Thank you, all the viewers.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
having me.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.